Hey everyone, it's siu-yee. Welcome back to my channel. So, I have refinanced my student loans again. I've spoken a little bit about this in recent videos, but I really wanted to just break down the experience for me and kind of re-emphasize the importance of refinancing your loans. I know that back in 2018, I had no idea what refinancing was. Right out of college, I was like kind of waiting on the impending doom of when my student loan grace period would be over and I would have to start making payments. And I was honestly worried that some of those payments would be over the amount of disposable income that I would have. So just to give you a little backstory about me and refinancing, back in like June 2018, I had started my job, I had graduated, I was getting my first few paychecks, and I really didn't know how to handle money well. At that point, I was still pretty embarrassed about talking about student loans. My friends who had student loans knew I had student loans. Like, I wasn't that embarrassed about it, but I was definitely never sharing the amount of student loans I had, considering it was pretty much 3 figures of debt, and that's not really something I felt comfortable sharing. So much so that I didn't even feel comfortable telling my boyfriend about it. And I remember at one point we were talking about money and student loans, and I think the topic came up that I had a bunch of student loans. So after that weird conversation where I kind of dodged the amount of debt that I had but really emphasized that it was a lot, he suggested that I refinanced my student loans, and at that point I had no idea what it was. So obviously I looked it up, I googled everything, and then I found a bunch of different student loan servicers that would refinance student loans for you and essentially give you a new loan under new terms. That's what refinancing is. So upon finding that out, I decided to quickly look up what I can do to consolidate the loans that I had, or at least the private loans that I had. And then after I did that in December 2018 for the first time, I have subsequently refinanced those loans multiple times so that I could get lower interest rates and I could get a payment that I could reasonably pay every single month while saving money. Recently, I switched from my old lender/servicer, Earnest, to Commonbond, the lender, and Firstmark, its servicer. And to be honest, the reason I did this is because I was bored and I was like, let's check my rates. And so I went on credible.com, which I've talked about in previous videos. You can check that out. My refinancing strategy is essentially trying to get the lowest rate possible with the monthly payment that I can afford. The term of the loan really does not matter when you're someone who tries to make extra payments every month, or if you're trying to really pay off the loan off faster than the shortest term available. So to me, the term of the loan doesn't really affect my decision. It's really just the interest rate and the minimum payment. And the way that I do this is by researching a bunch of different lenders and seeing if I pre-qualify for any refinancing rates. So the first site that I definitely check is Credible, and I've made a whole video about this before. You know, it's not the best quality. I made it when I was still kind of figuring out YouTube, and I still am, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's not the best quality. But in that video, I go through the whole exercise of checking my rates and which sites I check rates for. Since I was using Earnest as my lender previously, I definitely checked there, but they said that for some reason this time I couldn't check for my rates without them doing a hard credit pull, which is a first for me. In the past, they have always been able to give me pre-qualified rates before doing a hard credit pull, so they would just do a soft credit pull. So I kind of shied away from that because of it. I'm not really sure why that changed. It's kind of weird because I really enjoyed using Earnest as a lender. I think they're great. They have a great platform. I've had no actual issues with them in the past. So that's kind of why this time I went to Credible and followed through with their rates. So while I was on Credible, I put in my new information, any updated income, my housing status. I don't pay for rent anymore, so that really frees up the amount of available income that I have to throw at my loans, essentially. And that's a big deciding factor in what lenders look at to see what rates they can offer you. And honestly, the best thing about Credible is that they give you a bunch of different lenders because they're a third party. Obviously, they probably have contracts with them or something, but it gives you a nice comparison between a bunch of different lenders, and then you can decide which one works for you and which rates are right for you. So once I put in my information and I got my pre-qualified rates, I immediately saw one that appealed to me because at that time I had a 3.56% interest rate with Earnest. That's including auto pay, so I had a 0.25% auto pay discount. And so going down to 2.63% with auto pay was significant. It wasn't quite 1%, but it was a significant jump where if I did use that, I would save, you know, a few $100s. And since I was hoping to pay off my loans relatively soon to begin with, any amount of savings is honestly really good for me anyway. Even if it's not thousands of dollars, a few $100s is honestly pretty good in my book. So when I saw this one rate for 2.63% with auto pay from Commonbond with a monthly payment that I could afford, which is $1,227 or so for a 5-year term. And when I was looking at these rates, I was planning to pay off my loans in full within a year and a half. So honestly, the 5-year term really did not matter to me. I was just happy to get a really low rate. So obviously I went up to the lender site and then started filling out my application. Once I submitted that, a few days went by and then I finally got my rates, like my official rates. And not gonna lie, when I got those rates back, I was kind of disappointed because for some reason, my rate with auto pay included was 2.78, which is higher than what Credible told me it would be. So I don't know if there was an issue with how I applied or if they decided to give me a higher rate after reviewing my application. I'm not entirely sure what affects that, and I've never really had that happen to me because I have used Credible before and I've always been met with the same exact interest rate that Credible told me it was going to be, even after going through the application process with another lender. So this is definitely a first for me in terms of my refinancing journey. And I wanted to point that out in case anyone goes through this and then they realize that maybe their rates don't match. But I will say that as I was going through this application process, I told my friend about it and she decided that she wanted to check her rates as well, which is awesome. You know, definitely refinance if you feel like it's right for you. I assure you it's probably right for you if you want to get a lower interest rate. But she's of the same mentality, like she wants to pay off her student loans quickly, and I fully support that. So Credible actually has this offer going on where if you refer a friend who has over like $30,000 or so of student loans, you can get a $500 gift card and then they can get a $200 gift card using your link. If it's less than $30,000, I think I would get like $200 and they get $100 or something. But since that was the case, I immediately told her about it because any amount of free money is awesome, and she ended up following through with the application process, and when she went through it, she got the exact same rates that Credible had shown her on her application with Commonbond as well. So she had a pretty smooth transition. I'm not sure why my rate was raised, or I don't know, something got mixed up. I'm not sure. But I just want to be very transparent about that in case anyone encounters the same issue. Anyway, I just decided to be like, okay, well, this rate is still lower than the rate I have now and I'm approved for it, so might as well just do it. Like, I'm still gonna save around $500 in interest, which is still not bad. So I ended up accepting the offer and now I have a refinance with Commonbond, and everything was electronic. I had to maybe upload a pay stub, like a proof of address type thing. It was all very simple, very electronic, no hassle. I consistently got email updates from Commonbond regarding the application process, and then I got the email about registering an account for my loan servicer, which ended up being Firstmark Services. In the past, I've actually had Firstmark Services as my lender, and I talk a little bit about them in my rating my loan servicers video. I'll also link that. And honestly, I didn't quite realize that they would be servicing the loan until after I had accepted it. I probably should have looked it up because your servicer is really important. They're the ones who handle your loans, your payments. They're the people who you deal with when something goes wrong. So you really want them to be reliable. I will say that I've never had a problem with them. It's just that their interface is not the prettiest. That's all it is. So nothing negative about the servicer. I just want to make you guys aware that if you do use Commonbond, it's going to be Firstmark Services. And so because I've had Firstmark Services as my loan servicer before, I thought that I was supposed to use the same account that I had previously with them, and when I went and logged in, it said that my balance was paid off. I had nothing due, and I was just kind of signing in every day, checking to see where my balance was. Like, I'm expecting to see like over $60,000 here, and I'm seeing zeros. I'm like, okay, no loans, I guess, but that wasn't the case, obviously. When I did get my email to register with them, they do send you to a very specific site. It's commonbond.firstmarkservices.com, not just firstmarkservices.com. And so I had to make an account, a new account, with commonbond.firstmarkservices, even though it looks exactly the same. But I guess because they're under the Commonbond domain, I guess they need to make a different account. So after a few unsuccessful attempts at seeing my debt, I ended up having to call up Firstmark Services because I couldn't see my loans using my old account, and they said, oh, you just have to wait a few days. And that never happened. What I ended up doing was just going on this commonbond.firstmarkservices account, making a new account even though it was telling me that I couldn't register because I already had an account with them. And it turns out the problem was honestly just that my name was slightly different than what it should have been. Something very, very minor, and it had nothing to do with my social security number or any other personal information. It was just like one letter or one space off, because as you can imagine, my first name may not be accepted in certain fields with a hyphen. So sometimes I have to go without the hyphen, and sometimes I can't put a space in it. So I basically had to change my name a few times in order to be able to register my new account with commonbond.firstmarkservices.com. But once I was able to register this new account, I was finally able to see that I had $68,000 of debt, which is all I wanted. Once I got past that little hiccup, I was able to see my debt. I was able to see my new payment date, which was like a month after the refinancing took place. And now my payments are due like on the 15th of every month. Beyond that, it's very, very simple to make payments. I find that once I schedule a payment for the same day, later in the day after like 5 o'clock or so, they'll let me know that the payment was applied, and I can literally see my balance go down. Obviously, it may not reflect in your bank statement immediately, but you can actually see when it is applied relatively quickly compared to other servicers. The other thing is that because it doesn't have all these fancy graphics, everything is pretty straightforward. You just have to go through a bunch of menus to find tax documents, loan information, and eventually you'll find what you need. It's very, very straightforward, which is something that I do like about, simpler platforms. And obviously you can look up tax documents that you need for student loan interest discounts and any previous statement or historical information of transactions. I'm at the point now that I've officially had my first auto payment. I have made extra payments on the loans. Everything works as it should be, and so Firstmark is doing what it needs to do, and I'm very happy with that. Will I refinance again? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like at this point maybe I'm overdoing it, but there's still time before I may be debt-free, so I might do it again. Other than that, I think Commonbond is a great lender. Firstmark Servicers is a solid servicer. And in terms of the credible gift card promotion, that ended up working out. It took around a month for us to both get our cards. I definitely had to email the team regarding the status of the gift card, and she even had to submit my name and email information so that we could both get approved for these cards. And she ended up getting the $200. I got a $500 gift card, and I don't think you can use it as cash. I ended up just getting it as a $500 Amazon gift card. So that's just a heads up for all of you who might think of using Credible. And once again, this video is unfortunately not sponsored. And so everything I'm saying is very honest, very transparent, and if you choose to refinance, this is what my experience was. Let me know if you guys are thinking about refinancing, or if you have refinanced your loans recently, and what lender or servicer you're using. If you don't mind, please give them a rating out of 5 below. Thank you.